Hello everyone, welcome to Israeli Frenemies, where Zaki and myself, May Golan, are going to debate the hottest topics of the week. Trust me, it's going to be very, very interesting, so tune in. Eretz Israel, the eternal home for the Jewish people, the same Jews who've waited over 2,000 years to return to their promised land. This week was another harsh reminder to the fact that the battle for our nation is far from over. Witnessing tearful Jewish families forcefully evicted from their homes, carrying their Torah books, their children in their arms, like refugees in their own land, is a disgraceful stain that will forever remain in the history books of this country. This has left me, May Golan, with one conclusion and one conclusion only. This country can't continue to be controlled by the unelected radical left Supreme Court. We, the people, elected members of the Knesset to protect and defend us, but the harsh reality is they simply don't. Uri, how was your week?
Well, obviously it's very different than yours.
I bet.
But I want to mention the same issue, but from a different perspective. My week was about pride in our police force. The police force who today finished the eviction of the settlers of Amona came with no weapons, came with no clubs, just came there and very respectfully did their job. My question is, how come they don't do it when it comes to Israeli Arab citizens? How come they treat them with weapons, with violence? I hope that our police will be a source of pride for me every time.
Okay, and to our first topic.
Leave them kids alone. Hey, teacher, leave them kids alone.
Well, Uri, I know what I think about Donald Trump, and I definitely know what I think about this clip, but I'm very interested to hear a take on it first.
So first of all, regarding Donald Trump himself and the steps he's been taking the last 3 weeks, I think he's undermining America's stand in the world. I think he's arising incitement and racism within the American society, but I'm not American, and I want to look at the Israeli perspective. And I don't understand why our beloved Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, had to retweet...
Your beloved Prime Minister, Uri?
Had to tweet, well, he's a Prime Minister at least, had to tweet and show off saying, I was the first one who built a wall, and by doing that, jeopardizing our relationship with Mexico, had the Jewish community within Mexico had protested, and we had to use our president and our Minister of Interior Affairs to tell those Jews in Mexico, look, this Prime Minister doesn't always think about what he tweets.
Come on, okay, let's start from the beginning, okay? Donald Trump, first of all, is doing what he promised to his public. He's building the wall, and all he did in his tweet was giving some credit to Israel and our Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, for building the wall and stopping illegal immigration to Israel and stopping, by the way, terrorism coming to Israel. Now, but you have to understand there were terrorists coming from this wall.
Among those poor people who came to the United States,
poor people
who are
of course, there's ISIS,
from Mexico,
there are jihadists
from Mexico, that's incitement.
Okay, first of all, if
but what does it have to do with us?
I don't care if Mexicans are terrorists or not. I don't think they are. But the facts are they were bringing rapes, they were bringing drugs, and they were illegal. But let's put it aside. I have to say something.
Let's put it aside, but with lots of caution.
I have to say something about the tweet. Listen, it's not every day, especially not in the last 8 terror years that we had from Mr. Hussein Obama, okay, that finally a president of America,
one of the greatest presidents in America's history.
We don't have time to go into this, but first time that a president of America is mentioning Bibi Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, for a good thing that he did. You want Benjamin Netanyahu?
Don't
what do you mean?
Because now he put our
had
relationship,
nothing-
our diplomatic relationship with Mexico,
What
and more
diplomatic
than that,
relationship?
he's considered he's
excuse
the
me, Uli.
leader of the state of Israel, and now the Mexican Jews had to defend
Are
to
you
attack
serious?
him.
He wasn't talking about Mexico. He was talking about.
Tell that to the Mexican Jews.
Excuse
And tell
me.
that to the
When-
president
when
of
the-
Mexico.
when the Mexican
and tell that to the
ambassador-
president of Israel,
Uli.
who had to apologize in his name.
When the Mexican ambassador voted against us in the UN, I didn't see
Oh,
Benjamin
really?
Netanyahu turning into
No,
such a crisis.
he
Come
didn't.
on, the hypocrisy you guys have in the
The
left.
hypocrisy.
Yes, the
Netanyahu
hypocrisy.
gave
Let's
us
talk-
all history lessons.
Netanyahu, listen, I have criticism like you about Netanyahu. I'm a right-wing social activist. But regarding the wall, he is allowed to take pride of this. He was the first prime minister who did this for the safety of Israel and for this nation.
Is it
And
worthwhile
he ruined-
alienating
he
the
didn't
Mexican
ruin-
Jews,
He didn't alienate
alienating the
oh,
Mexican government?
Jews,
You know,
please.
Israel has a lot
Every
of trade
country,
ties
Uli.
with Mexico. Why does he have to barge in? He can say, you know what? Tweet, thank you, Mr. President.
Why?
And that's it. Why does he have to show how good and big I am?
Because he didn't
so,
show. Listen to me. Every country has the right to protect its borders. Benjamin
Nobody
Netanyahu.
claims different.
One second, let me finish. Benjamin Netanyahu has every right to take pride on building one of the biggest, strongest walls.
Regardless
but
of,
you know what?
He's the Prime Minister of Israel.
Yes.
He,
And he's allowed
he's
to
also the
take
Foreign
proud.
Minister, by the way. He's responsible for our diplomatic ties with Mexico. He's
Are
responsible
not
as
being
the leader
ruined.
of the Jewish
Nothing
state
has been ruined.
of
He
the
was
Mexican
not,
Jews over there.
Only the bottom line is he was not talking about Mexico. He was referring
Tell that
to the
again.
wall he built.
So how come
Well,
all
we
the
are
Mexican... So I see those pictures coming from the United States, and again, that fills me with pride too, and a bit of envy, because I see all these people, all those good Americans, Jews, Muslims, Christians, white, black, brown, you name it, all protesting regarding or against a step that goes against the core values of the United States. And you know, for me, this week we also marked the International Day of the Shoah, of the Holocaust. And President Trump signed this racist order on the day of Memorial of the Shoah.
What would you have done, Uli, on the left parties if you wouldn't have the word racism? This is your excuse, your pathetic excuse, by the way.
We
to
really hope that
everything.
we won't face
So
racism.
the core of America's rules is not to protect herself, is not to protect herself from terrorists. Let's talk for 1
terrorists,
second.
all
Let's talk
people
for 20
in Syria, all people in Iraq, all people in
is
Yemen,
that what he
all people in
said?
Iran. Yes, he
Is-
said that
oh
they
my God.
cannot
This
come
is-
into
this
the
is
United
real
States.
Propaganda, what you're doing right
That's
now,
what he
because
did.
it is a lie. It is not true. What
What's
did
the
he do?
truth?
He took two laws, one for a 19 days ban for countries like Yemen, Sudan, Syria. These are countries, Uli, you want to look me in the eyes, and I know your opinions, that you want people to come here. I'll tell you those countries.
Definitely.
Countries
The
like
100%
Syria,
of the
Iraq,
people there are terrorists.
Iran, Libya,
That's racism.
Somalia, Sudan. Do you want to accept people to your country from this country
First of all,
without
for some of them
checking
we
them?
do.
Without
He
checking them?
said we'll stop all entrance
but
for
Uli,
90 days.
What did he
3 months.
say?
People
No,
in the
no.
airports
It's
were
a
deported.
temporary solution. And temporary solution for what? Listen,
I
the head
will-
of the FBI, Comey, said one thing. They do not have the proper system right now for screening people that are coming from this
Not
country.
one
And
terrorist in the
and-
United States came from those countries.
That is
They
not-
came from the United States
The
itself,
Obama
came
administration
from Europe.
took 5 countries from these 7 countries and said the
To
same
have a total
thing.
ban?
It's not
it
a
wasn't
total
like that.
ban.
It is a total ban
not.
right
It's-
now
no.
for 90 days at least.
It's
So
a
how come all
complete
these people are protesting? Why
thing.
Americans are protesting?
So let me answer you. They're protesting because they are sore losers who find it very hard to accept the fact that they just lost. They lost the elections. The right wing won. Donald Trump has won, and he's gonna make his
Republicans are going
promises.
against this.
He's
it's
gonna
not.
make
It's not
Uli.
the right wing. You know, as a left winger,
make his
I don't
promises
think
to
that's
his
the right
public.
winger. I think that's Donald Trump. And I think, you know, when I think of those people, those refugees, I think about my family and other Jewish families that in the 1930s, before the
Please,
Holocaust started,
there is no
needed
comparison.
shelter,
You guys
and they
are
were
taking
blocked
the
from
Holocaust.
coming in.
That is not true. You guys are taking the Holocaust and
We
using
are.
it. Yes, you
Yeah,
are.
we are.
The lefty Jews all over the world and in America and the liberals that are taking the Holocaust and using it on things that have nothing
To
to
make
do
a
with
better
it.
world.
For
That's
me,
our
it's
lesson.
disrespectful. No, it's disrespectful, and let me tell you why for 1 second, Uli. We're talking about people, the refugees that are coming, that all Donald Trump has been asking is to take some time. The first part is 90 days, the second part is 120 days for a temporary...
total ban
1
for
second.
people based on their nationality.
No, temporary time to check
What do
who
you mean
are the
temporary?
so-called refugees that are coming into the U.S.
It's
Who
not about
are these
refugees.
people?
It's an
Why are they coming?
Oscar-winning director.
No, I'm
people
sorry.
like that, scientists,
Uli.
experts. Everybody's a terrorist.
Not everybody. You know,
Regarding-
this
I
is
mean,
not about.
based on the
you know
country you
what?
were
I have
born
to
in?
say something. This is not even about a Muslim country.
Oh,
We're
really?
talking. Yeah, if it
Show
was
me one
about,
country there that is not Muslim.
Because if it was
I'll
about,
tell you what it is.
Uli,
It's about
yeah,
countries
you won't let me
where
finish.
Donald Trump
Not
doesn't
nice.
have business going on.
If it was about the Muslim countries, it would have been a much more variety of Muslim countries. Let's say
Right,
the
but
16,
he's invested.
the 16,
He's invested in
the
Saudi
16
Arabia
Muslim
and
countries
other-
that banned. One of the hardest topics that Israel is going through these past few days is the eviction of Amona. With us today is Ari Fold, a social activist for Amona, Judea and Samaria, and a public speaker for Israel. Hello, Ari. How are you?
Hi, May. How are you? Thanks for having me on the show.
Good to have you. Are you currently in Amona right now?
I'm no longer in Amona. I was there a couple of days ago, and I wanted to leave before the forced eviction actually happened. I was in Gush Katif 12 years ago, and the truth of the matter is, ideologically, I just cannot deal with that again.
The sights we're seeing are very hard. Tell us a little bit about the voices you hear from there.
Well, the people, the residents of Amona, feel extremely betrayed. They feel like they're garbage, and it's not even about them being evicted. It's about them being crossed. They came to a compromise with the government. The Bagats, the Supreme Court, threw that out as well. And frankly, there are people who were evicted forcibly from their homes who simply have nowhere to go right now. And I don't really want to hear from others that, well, it'll be okay because 12 years ago, people who were forcibly evicted from Gush Katif still don't have a home. So they feel totally betrayed with this issue that happened yesterday.
Ari, you know, I've been hearing all this week, and really with a lot of, I identified with the pain, although I totally disagree with the actual settling of Amona, which was on private Palestinian lands. But put that aside. With regard,
No, I don't want to put that aside.
Okay, so let's talk about it in a second. But I want to ask you about the specific issue that I mentioned earlier in the show. You know, I would be much more open to your arguments regarding the enforcement agencies in Israel, and specifically the police and the courts, if I would have seen some empathy from you guys towards, for instance, Bedouins who were evicted only 2 weeks ago,
And
very,
towards empathy
very
from the
violently.
Bedouin towards the
my question,
settlers?
my question.
Come on.
I have this empathy, but I'm not a Bedouin. Why?
So,
Why don't
I'll
you?
answer-
Why don't you have the same relation when it comes to
That's a
to
wonderful
others?
question you have. It's a wonderful question you have, but I'm going to turn your question right on its head because it's not us who are completely and totally hypocritical. It is you, because there are 110,000 illegal Arab buildings built on actual proven Jewish land that 95% of the cases gone to the Supreme Court are swept under the table. In fact, Judge Denzinger, who said the compromise is illegal, the day before stopped the eviction of an Arab family in Jerusalem who is living on Jewish land.
I'm not
hold on, let me
representing the
finish.
Supreme
Let me
Court. I
finish.
have a lot
Let me
of
finish.
But you know what?
criticism, although in Israel's democracy,
no,
the Supreme Court
excuse me,
has the
Bree.
last say
1 second. Ali, one second.
on legal
all
issues.
he's saying here is not representing the Supreme Court, but let's talk for a second, Ali, about the Supreme Court, because in the end of the day, we're watching ourselves, and I said that in my opening monologue, we're watching the fact that the Supreme Court is ruling this country. It is not enabling the members of the Knesset, who we chose in a democracy, to protect us and do what we have asked him to when we voted for him. So
it's much worse than that, because unlike in the United States of America, where the president assigns the Supreme Court judges, here in Israel there's a committee, and current Supreme Court judges have the veto for new Supreme Court judges. So in other words, a philosophy, ideology, and political stance, they're just the factory of the same judges over and over again. Now, just what Uri said before, unfortunately for you, Uri, and I would be happy, you know what, I will turn leftist. I will give my home, which is in Judea, to any refugee you'd like, if you can produce a single proof of ownership that any Arab has brought since the beginning of this case. I dare you.
Look, I'm not an expert on this specific case. I do know that in Israel's democracy, the same way that I respect the ruling of the Supreme Court, that the settlements are legal, although it's clear they're illegal according to international law, all of the settlements, not only the outposts, I respect the ruling because this is a democracy and we have a rule of law.
But Uri, what about the illegal housing of...
One second. Let me get some facts straight here. Uri, with all due respect, you cannot grab both sides of the sword here, okay? If you're going to talk about someone's private home like you threw at me in the beginning and make this into a humanitarian claim, I'm going to expose your fake news. Excuse me. Since 20 years ago, Peace Now, that came in 2005, that's 8 years after Amona was built, they did not come on the case of private land. They came on zoning problems. Only in 2008.
I met with the owners of this land. I met them. I met them, and these are people.
They weren't even acknowledging this property. They weren't even sitting there. It was a deserted place.
Did you meet them? Did you meet them, May?
That the Jews have came and settled and made beautiful homes. But Ali, 1 second, we don't have a lot of time. I want your final quote about what do you expect from the members of the Knesset that you chose for to do right now, because you are now evicted without homes, without a place to go. When the High Supreme Court just ruled out the settlement that was supposed to give you new homes. What are the Amona people? 1 second. What are the Amona people are looking for right now? What are the Amona people are going to demand right now from the people they chose, from their prime minister, from Naftali Bennett, from Lieberman?
Okay, so my expectation of the Israeli government right now is to pass a settlement law and to stop this constant abuse of Jews who are settling Judea and Samaria.
So you're expecting the Israeli government to have a law that it goes against the basic principles of democracy?
So look, Uri, the Shabbat subject is a very sensitive subject for Israel, secular and religious both, I think. I think you agree with me on that. And the problem here, and this is the problem for me, you know, I'm not a religious person, but I don't like the definition of secular as well. I believe that each person has the right and the freedom to practice his own religion on his own time. But as a Jewish nation, as a Jewish, you know, a country that we have only one tradition to uphold, I believe that it would be okay to respect this religion and close the businesses on Shabbat. Now, I understand people who don't agree with me, but I just want to make another point. We have a minister of interior called Aryeh Deri, and he's the head of a very religious party, Shas, in Israel. But you know, his friendship with the left group in Israel is very well known, and I feel he's trying to throw this ball from one way to another because he doesn't want to deal with it. Because if he wants to appease his public, he should close all the supermarkets on Shabbat. But because he doesn't want to disappoint his friends from the left, then he's trying to throw it on all kinds of other people, which to me it's fake. But you know what?
Okay, I'll tell my take on this.
Yeah.
First of all, I'm a person of faith. I pray every Shabbat, for instance, although I'm a lefty. But I'm also a resident of this city of Tel Aviv, and I'm very proud. I think Tel Aviv is one of the biggest accomplishments of Zionism and the Zionist movement. And part of what Tel Aviv is all about, it's about being free. And it's crazy that because of a faith of this person, of Aryeh Deri or of others, to shut down Tel Aviv on Shabbat, on the 21st century, shutting down is harming Tel Aviv. Us being Jews doesn't mean that we all have to be ultra-Orthodox. We have to respect each other. Aryeh Deri can do whatever he wants on a Shabbat, go to his shul, go to pray, and we can go to a cafe, to a movie, or also to buy ourselves some milk in order to make some
What
to make some coffee.
disaster would happen if you buy this milk before Shabbat or after Shabbat? What disaster would happen
that's
if you
my
won't
way
go
of
to the
life. That's
supermarket
other
on
people's
Shabbat?
way of life.
But
why
I'm sorry,
should
Tel Aviv,
why should Aryeh Deri and other get into our
Tel
space?
Aviv
That's
doesn't
our
have
space.
its own sovereignty. It doesn't have its own country and its own rules. It's a part of Israel, and there are people in Tel Aviv should respect others. People. Why
should they respect us?
Because
why
you
is
have
my
all
Shabbat?
week. You have all week to do all this.
I work all week. I work all week.
So you don't have an hour to go to the supermarket?
No, I don't want to do that. I want to do that on the Shabbat. It's part of my fun to prepare a meal for me and my family and to buy some stuff in the grocery store. That's my freedom. That's part of Israel. That's part of Tel Aviv.
Open your head a bit. Think about other people. You know, you guys remind me of
Why do they care what I do on Shabbat?
That you put this thing on them so they won't be able to look right or left. Come
what
on.
I do on a Shabbat?
It's my business
issue.
Because you live in a Jewish country and you should
not in Iran,
respect,
mind you, not in
the
Muslim Republic, the Islamic Republic of Israel.
Iran would, if you would define the Iran regime, you would be hanged. In Iran, women can't drive.
But that's the kind of coercion that goes on in Iran. We're in Israel, not in Iran.
We're both secular, you know, and we both don't practice, you know, we don't look as religious, but we both believe in our own way.
If we'll follow your way, we might end up like Iran.
No. Oh, come on. I pray on Shabbat as well.
Good.
And you know what?
Me too.
And you know what? Iran, I'll take you on a trip to Iran.
Why is the government has to interfere with what I do on a Shabbat? I don't understand it.
Ori, you will go to Iran or Syria.
It's my
and
freedom.
You will come back on your hands and knees for the democracy you have here. All we're asking of you people to respect the fact that this is...
Guns N' Roses, Rod Stewart, all great stars of the past. And they all come this summer to Israel. The question is whether it's because these are the people who love Israel and not, let's say, Beyonce and others who are more updated, or is it the success of Roger Waters and the BDS movement? And we're going to discuss this tonight.
Well, I don't know. I don't want to give too much credit to Roger Waters, seriously. But even if it is true and those people are not coming to Israel because of him, who needs them? I don't need them. I don't want artists that don't come to Israel because they ban them. I don't care what is their political opinion. You know what? When I'm watching actors and actresses or singers and artists, I don't want to know what their political opinion is. I want to enjoy them as much as their art is good. But when you ban a country because of its opinion or because something you think about it, you are ruining your own art, in my opinion. And if those people don't want to come, don't come. But regarding what you said about the old people, you know, you can't ignore the fact that even if you do support Israel, you come here towards, you know, the late years of your life, and I think it's a bit of disrespect.
So okay, I'm a bit torn here, okay, because I'm a huge fan of Guns N' Roses or Metallica. Both groups are going to be here this summer,
a rock star
and
here.
I'm not a big fan of the more new stuff. But I completely disagree with what you say. I think people who have the opportunity to express their political views should do it. I don't want Israel, of course, to be boycotted. I mean, I fight with my own tools the BDS towards Israel. But having said that, I do think that artists should express themselves, not according to someone else's views, but their own views, definitely. I salute Madonna, who spoke out. I salute Meryl Streep, who spoke out this last couple of weeks. I really think that if you get a microphone, you should use it.
Well, obviously I think differently, but I have to say worse than that. You know, you look at Madonna and you look at Meryl Streep and you look at all these people that are right now rallying against Donald Trump, and I think it's disgusting. And it made me not want to watch them anymore. And why should they do that if they are real artists? Now, if you think about that, half of the public voted for Hillary Clinton, half voted for Trump.
A bit more than half for Hillary
but
Clinton,
is it worth it for them
like 3
to
million more.
lose almost half of America? Is it really worth it? We're talking about the elite, Hollywood actors. Each one of them, very rich person, have its own guards, live in their own mansion.
But look,
and then they care about Donald.
But think about
it's very
it.
much alike to our artists in Israel.
These people are dependent on popular support or
But
folks
I didn't
buying,
like Madonna
their,
or
their
Rihanna
music.
or,
So they are.
Well, we're about to finish our weekly show. It was our first show, and I think it was a pretty good one. And I would like to say a good thing about you, Uri. And I think that the fact that we can sit here together and debate about things that are not easy to debate about from a very different point of views, I think it's something to smile about. I think that the more we shall continue to talk like that, the more our country will be united in towards good days for Israel.
Well, I join this nice attitude of gesture of good words. I'll tell you in an anecdote. Before I first was with you on a TV show, that was I think a year ago or something like that. You were the one of the only speakers of the right that I was intimidated to speak against, because you're really good in making your points, and I'm really proud that we're doing this together, and I'm looking forward for next week.
Great.
And I think on this note, thank you so much for joining us for Israeli Frenemies. We hope to see you next week. We promise it's going to be interesting. Thank you, Mai.
Thank you, Uri.